What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and Borderlands 3 dropped today, and there is a lot going on. Now, many of you have reached out to tell me that, hey, I'm not really having many problems, and that's cool because generally I want people to enjoy their video games. Obviously, a point of order, I've been very critical of Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford, although I do love Borderlands 1 and 2. I kind of was late to the game, but fell in love with that game. In fact, the game Borderlands 2 made me fall in love with co-op play, something I had never really been interested in trying before. But when Borderlands 3 and 2K decided to go Epic exclusive on Borderlands 3, I decided that I was just going to wait. That's fine, right? Many of you have decided that you want to wait, or you want to jump in a boat and paddle out to deeper waters, and you do you. I don't think there's anything to judge people on if they just wanted to play more Borderlands. That's ultimately okay. So if you're a Borderlands 3 fan and you're enjoying the game, I'm happy for you. I genuinely am. I don't like people to feel bad about enjoying video games. After all, they're just video games. But the launch has been pretty rough, and the reviews are tanking. Now, when I saw the reviews going bad, I thought maybe people were just still mad about the Epic Game Store. So I took the time to read through some of the reviews, many of the reviews, and there was hardly any mention of it. Most of the negative reviews were mentioning specific things, and we're going to take a look at that. One of the biggest problems today was the game in and of itself launched without DirectX 12 support. Big problem. Borderlands 3 PC release with a game-breaking bug, primarily affecting those using DX12. Those attempting to run it on PC are running into the problem where the first loading screen and intro splash screen never loads. It's a load screen of Borderlands 3 character claptrap dancing. More than one mega thread on Borderlands subreddit is already being flooded with people encountering the DX12 loading bug. It's possible it affects DX11 too. Most people are switching to 11 as a solution. Something you should just never have to do. Now, there is a fix to force the game to run into DirectX 11, but this is an unacceptable bug in a game that's going to sell 20 million copies. Bugs are sadly a part of modern-day AAA titles. Game-breaking bugs, even. It's beaten me into submission where it's hard to get really mad about it anymore. This is why I don't buy AAA games on release for the most part. You know, if it's a company like Rockstar and I absolutely really wanted Red Dead Redemption 2 on launch day, okay. But for the most part, I decide that, you know what, it's better to just wait a few months, at least a few weeks, until they fix some of the most egregious errors up front. Now, of course, there's pre-launch issues as well, and you look at another problem. If we look at the mega threat itself, it's not super bad. Obviously, the DirectX bug is a big deal. Inventory screen, all kinds of buggy with 300 upvotes right now. Same on PC as well. Frame rates feel super choppy on PC. 144 hertz monitor feels like 30 FPS when a game is telling me 80. I've tried messing with settings, but nothing really does anything. This is a sentiment that's echoed by many others. Same here. I can run most games, even DMC5, without stuttering a single time with my settings on medium. But you have people combating that, saying, for me, it doesn't feel super choppy, but rather like a strong mouse smoothing or input lag. I'm also getting between 60 and 70 FPS. Now, a lot of you in my Twitter thread have brought up this input lag. These are two things that really are unacceptable to have at launch. I don't know if they're all DirectX related. Doesn't seem like it. When I ADS with scope zoom, I go from 80 to 90 frames per second to 30 to 40. It's brutal. It sounds like this game is undercooked. To me, I have an older rig, just a 1080 60 monitors, and NVIDIA saying my FPS can get as high as 90 steady on high. Even having it locked at 60 still feels jittery and gritty and not in the good Borderlands way. It's interesting to anyone having the issue with this. So maybe a lot of this is obviously DirectX 11 related. Matchmaking is bugged. These are all things that are curious to have at launch. But if we actually look at how 2K Games was with their reviews, it's pretty clear that they knew that they were going to have a lot of launch bugs and that they only gave review copies to, quote, trusted sources, people they knew weren't going to be critical of the game. And I think that, you know, as much as I don't agree with it, as much as I lament that this is the situation, modern day AAA video games seem to launch with a lot of bugs, and that's just the way it is. Usually, most of them are cleared up within 2 to 3 days. A couple of driver updates from maybe NVIDIA or ATI will get most of the stuff fixed. So your hardcore Borderlands fans are just going to deal with it. It's fine. And ultimately, it's just a video game, and I hope that you just enjoy it. Now, there was some speculation from a website called Giant Bomb who said they were denied review copies based on previous negative reviews of 2K products. The quote goes, "When we inquired about it, we were told, hey, there are security concerns. We were told," and I'm paraphrasing here, "but we were told by 2K PR representative that based on sentiment of our E3 coverage, that they were going to send it to us closer to launch." It's not the first time that 2K Games has done something shrewd like this. Back in 2013, the publisher gave IGN exclusive opportunity to publish its BioShock Infinite review before everyone else. Basically an embargo before an embargo. The situation with Borderlands 3 is even worse because there are several renowned publications that have already reviewed the game. Borderlands 3 does look like it deserves a high score, but with the present shade, you might as well think that there's some degree of bias in those early reviews. Now, if you're giving IGN exclusive access to publish early, what do you think is the unspoken rule here? What do you think the unspoken agreement is? And maybe there was none. Maybe this is all above board. Now, I'm perhaps a little too cynical to just assume everything's above board at this point, but isn't it curious? Isn't it plausible that in that situation, 2K Games knew IGN was going to give them a high score, or it was implied? That's the problem with access journalism. If you give something a bad score, or you cross the line criticizing them in their eyes, they'll just cut you off. And everyone else will get their reviews out early, and they'll get all the traffic. So there's this system in place that will reward people to be nicer to a game than they need to be. It's just the way it works. It's why I don't trust reviews. When we look at user reviews, though, yikes. Now, when we look at the Metacritic score, the critics, the paid shills, have the game at about an 85%. Excellent. Now, when we look at people actually playing the game, well, as far as we can know, because, you know, Epic Games Store doesn't make it easy for us to review games, which is part of why it's so attractive to large companies. Make no mistake about it. Epic is not interested in giving us a voice, which is why Steam will always be superior. The user score, 4.8. Now, it's about 50-50 with 155 positive reviews and 183 negative. But it's easy to say, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, it's just people that are mad about Steam. It's not really. 0. What a bad game. This is Borderlands 2.5. Optimization on PC is terrible, even with RTX 2080. Game keeps crashing on the main screen. I hate Epic, but I bought the game anyway. Seems like I made the wrong decision. What a disaster. Holy moly. Incredibly rushed game. Runs terrible on a 2080 Ti. And the humor is the worst in any game ever. Epic Store exclusivity already deserves a 0, but this game isn't even good. Graphics are slightly better, but everything else is significantly worse. Vault Hunters are boring, have no personality. Humor is pathetic. Environment design is much worse than Borderlands 2. I can't name anything in this game that does better than the previous ones except graphics. Losing save progress, terrible FPS drops, stuck in some missions, have to restart. This release is a joke. The game is laggy even in the menu. In the in-game store, single pass is always bad, and the story is meh. Some levels as Rage 2. Refund, if possible, at your store. Now, certainly, the people that are enjoying the game, having no problems, they're probably not leaving negative reviews. And it seems like a lot of concerns around the PC port. So maybe the PlayStation 4 and Xbox releases were better. Although some of my viewers have told me that there's some input lag and things like that. Starts off strong from nostalgia, but quickly becomes the same boring garbage as the pre-sequel with humor that's even more subpar. Also has its share of issues, from epic launcher failures, from severe FPS drops and crashes. Skip this title and just play mod BL2 if you really want a BL game. More than 6 years of development, all we get is BL 2.5. Literally, you liked old Borderlands games? You'll keep doing the same thing, but with more different characters and skills. Same missions, similar worlds, similar monsters and enemies, same graphics. Don't go in expecting a big sequel that had more than 6 years to come out. It's more of the same expansion. Now, there are times where I believe that more of the same is good. Maybe they pulled their customers and the majority of them wanted more of the same. But certainly there are a lot of people using this. I mean, there's reviews that are titled 10 years later, it's more of the same. Is that bad? But even this review, Borderlands has always been about art style and fidelity, or more than about art style more than fidelity. The third installment continues with that tradition. The Xbox One version of the game has optimal resolution mode, which jumps sharpness up while sacrificing 60 FPS. Again, it'll boil down to your preferences, whether or not you prefer speed over sharpness. But Borderlands 3 struggles to maintain its target 60 FPS at HD, even with modest action sequence, which look blurry as heck. Ironically, you may end up with smoother experience at 30 FPS, which is locked and doesn't buckle under the load. For the game that isn't the most detailed in the world, it feels a bit odd that they could have poured a little more optimization into the game. I'm having problems after just a couple of hours in. The issues may be something to do with the new Xbox API that lets games switch between resolution and performance without reopening the game, but it's hard to tell without more technical information. Speaking of technical issues, the DRM, it needs to be talked about. Apparently, the DRM on the game is completely eating up upstream, making it difficult for some people to stream who don't have gigantic, huge internet upload speeds. Now, if you're not familiar with up and down speeds on internet, essentially it's as simple as this. Most internet services will give you something flashy like 100 megabits down or 200 megabits down, but they'll only give you like 2 or 3 up. Up speed is what you need to upload. Up speed is what you need to stream. Now, after years of playing and streaming Borderlands, I've just found out that I can't stream BL3. My internet can't stream and also handle whatever personal data Borderlands 3 is uploading in the background. What is this? And we look at all these Borderlands 3 upload speed using almost 3 megabits of internet I/O. You know, all these different programs going up and down. It's ridiculous. Update using net limiter to block Borderlands 3.exe allows me to stream the game offline mode. It's a start. I think it's worth mentioning that doing so also prevents me from playing with my friends using VIP rewards, and also removed my Super Deluxe bonuses halfway through the play session. But again, a start. In the pick data rates and bits per second, 1.2 megabits per second is what it's uploading. Presumably, looks like activity familiar with a form of DRM, maybe Red Shell or De Novo. I heard they're using a new version, which apparently has the side effect of making the exe 600 megabytes big. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. DRM that uses this level of upstream. Who knows what it's sending, by the way. But can't people just play the game? Look, I honestly don't believe in DRM as any effective way to stop people from pirating your video games anyway. People that are who are going to pirate it are just going to do that. How many people do you think are like, oh, I can't use this DRM. I'm going to just wait, or I'm just going to buy it. No. If you wanted to buy the game, you're going to buy the game. Or you're going to wait and you can buy the game on discount later, which is what I'll probably do. You're not going to look at it and be like, ooh, it's using De Novo. I guess I'm not going to pirate it now. I'm going to pay $60 for a game that I didn't think was worth it before. Sure, there's some people that will always pirate it, and you can't get around that. But the real key is adding benefits to people that don't. Letting people buy extra in-game things, or, give people something cool for buying the game. It seems like a better disincentive to streaming. Disincentivize by actually incentivize. If this is all DRM, that's absurd. Nearly 2 megabits up. If you check your upstream, imagine, half of the average upstream being used by a game's DRM. That's absurd. And we go and look, and this isn't even something that's mentioned. Well, we all waited for Borderlands continuity, and this game has finally arrived. Let's see how it goes. Pros: Characters we know and love are back. The gameplay seems to hold promise. Story seems okayish. Horrible launch. Problems launching the game. Problems downloading the game. Microtransactions everywhere. The game is lagging, even on a good PC. In-game menus are laggy. Chipping here and there. How the heck does this word ban works? Global review, 2 out of 10. This could have been better, but it was released 6 months too early. If it was released 6 months later without bugs, more optimization. When you're paying full game price, you expect the full game, not half a game. Yikes. Boring gameplay, lame humor, blank world, poor optimization. The magic of Borderlands 2 is gone in this one. Would not recommend. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. Yikes. Not exactly what you would expect out of 2K games, and it adds some credence to wondering exactly why they might be barring certain people from removing or reviewing their games early. Would be exactly why you end up on Epic Game Store, which makes reviews difficult to find. Exactly another action of a company that would send somebody to a YouTuber's house to threaten them. Not a good launch. Hey, if you're playing Borderlands 3 and you're having fun, I'm happy for you. But this doesn't look like a very good launch at all. In fact, it looks pretty disastrous for a company as big as 2K, Gearbox, and Epic. They can't get their game together in time for launch. Pretty sad. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Above, you'll find some links to watch more videos, as well as a nice big button to subscribe, which I hope you'll do. If you did enjoy it, make sure before you go that you leave a like and a comment on the video, because you are the #1 reason this channel continues to grow, and I appreciate you.